What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Endless TBR. My name is Christian, and this is my YouTube channel where I love to talk about books. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to click on this video, and I hope y'all are having a beautiful day. It is February 6th, which means I'm a couple days behind. Usually I try to get this like out at the first of the month, but I did still want to share the books that I plan on reading in February, as well as I went to the bookstore yesterday, so I wanted to share some book pickups that I have for this month and figured I'd put them together in one video. But yeah, like I said, I hope y'all are having a great day. We are off to a strong start for me when it comes to reading for 2026. I finished 10 books in January, and I want to keep that momentum going. There were a couple books that I didn't get to in my January TBR that are going to roll over into February, but I'm well underway with both of those books. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. With it being the 6th of the month, I've already finished one book. It was a audiobook that I started right at the end of January, and it was called Love Under Different Skies by Nick Spalding. If you're a watcher of this channel, you'll know I've been slowly going through Nick Spalding's books. I think this is my 10th audiobook by him that I've listened to. They're just very easy listening, and I've kind of gone back and forth from him. I think my issue is that I started with his strongest books, like his highest rated, and I thought those were really good. And since then, it's kind of plateaued into like this area where I'm like, I'm not enjoying these as much. But I was sitting around at the end of January, like, I need to pick a new audiobook to start listening to. And with all the crap going on in the world, I was like, I could use a little Nick Spalding right now. I need something that's just lighthearted, easy to listen to. And so I randomly chose this book, Love Under Different Skies, and it was a solid time. I enjoyed it. Once again, not one of his strongest, but it was a book that I enjoyed listening to, and it was very, very easy listening. And there were quite a few funny moments in it as well. It's basically about this couple, and they have to move from the UK to Australia because the wife gets a new job opportunity down there, and it's just them adjusting to life in the outback, and it's putting a strain on their marriage. And in Nick Spalding fashion, everything that can go wrong does go wrong to this couple, and I just enjoyed it. It was a good, easy listening time. I'm gonna not listen to another Nick Spalding book this month. I'm gonna try to get back into John Mars, as you'll see here in a second. But I did enjoy this one. Nick Spalding just kind of hit the spot for me. I needed a little bit of levity, and he provided that. So thank you, Nick Spalding. The current books that I'm reading, I had at the end of my January TBR list, but I didn't get around to finishing. The first one is Heretics of Dune by Frank Herbert, book 5 in the original Dune 6 book series. And I am a little over halfway done with this one. I'm around page 300 out of like 550. And this is an interesting one so far. It takes place 1500 years after the reign of Leto II, which is who is the main character in God Emperor of Dune, the fourth book in the series, and he ruled for 3,500 years. So that book takes place 3,500 years after the original Dune trilogy, and so a lot has changed. And most of this book has just been me trying to catch up on who these characters are. And in normal Frank Herbert fashion, his writing isn't the easiest to digest. So I have had to use outside sources where I'll read a couple chapters and I'll be like, hold on, I need some help as to what's going on here. So I might go to like a YouTube video or something. But overall, I am enjoying it. It's a lot of drama between these different factions that are trying to regain power, even 1,500 years after Leto II's rule. And yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. Not one of my favorite Dune books by Frank Herbert. I think this will probably end up on the lower end of my ranking of his books by the end of it. But I always enjoy reading about Dune, and I always enjoy Frank's writing. And so we'll see how I feel about it once I get through the rest of it. So that is one book that I'm reading. And then I'm going back and forth with that because Frank Herbert's stuff is a little difficult. Going back and forth between that and Ink Death, which I'm significantly less into. I'm about 100 pages into this one, and this is a beefy book. I think it's about 600, almost 700 pages. Yeah, like 660 pages. So, but I am right off the bat within the first 100 pages. I am liking this book even more. It's kind of, this series has gone uphill for me. So Inkheart I thought was good but not great. Inkspell I thought was even better. And then the first 100 pages of Ink Death have been awesome. Like, the tone has totally shifted, and I can't talk about why because it would be a spoiler for Ink Spell. But bad things are happening. And this book kind of starts off in the action where all of our characters are just facing the worst moments. And this book feels so much more serious and it feels like the stakes are really high. And I've loved the first 100 pages of this. So I'm super excited to see where this ends up because I read the first two books when I was younger. I never got around to Ink Death. So this is 100% fresh, uncharted territory for me. So I'm gonna try to knock this one out real quick here. So those are the two books that I'm reading. Going back to John Mars for a moment, the next audiobook that I plan on listening to, I haven't started it yet, but I want to listen to this book called Dead in the Water by John Mars. I have been on a huge John Mars kick. He's kind of like the new Nick Spalding for me. When I first discovered Nick Spalding, I was listening to like 3 books of his a month. John Mars is that new guy. This will be my fourth book listening to him, and I started reading him back in December. So at a little slower pace than Nick Spalding, but I'm enjoying his books a lot and a totally different genre. You know, he's John Mars is all about thrillers, and I like going into his books completely blind. So I didn't even look up what Dead in the Water is about. I just want to jump into it and see where it goes. So that is the next audiobook that I'll be listening to. And then usually I don't plan my audiobooks out in advance. I just kind of pick up whichever one feels good to me. So once I finish Dead in the Water, it usually takes me about a week to get through audiobooks because I only listen to them on my commute to and from work. So in a week, I'll figure out what I'm going to listen to next. I usually don't plan ahead for those. So next up, we have two books that I need to read on my Kindle. They're books for school, and I'm currently taking a Gothic literature course. So I have two required books that I basically have to finish before I think it's the 15th of February. So within the next week, I really need to start getting to them. Luckily, neither of them are too long. The first one is called The Castle of Otranto, yeah, by Horace Walpole, and this is seen as like the original Gothic book. So I'm really excited to get into that. Don't know really what it's about. And the next book that I have to read on my Kindle for school is called The Italian by Anne Radcliffe. And she is apparently like the founder of what's called the female Gothic, which is Gothic written by women for women. So I'm really excited to see what that book is about. I don't know anything about either of those, but according to my professor, they're like classics when it comes to the genre. So I'm excited to get into that. I don't think I've read too much Gothic stuff on my TBR for this whole year, 2026. I really want to get into Edgar Allan Poe, who you know is a big Gothic writer. But so far as of now, I don't think I've really read too much. I read Frankenstein and Dracula recently in October, and those are big Gothic novels. But besides those, I'm a newbie in this genre, so I'm excited to read more of those. So those are some Kindle books that I'm going to be reading this month, and then I have a few physical books here that I want to read in February. The first one is going to be the Wild Robot trilogy I have right here. I picked these up in January for like a really really cheap price, and these are children's novels, so this will take me like maybe a day or two to read all three of these. But I really love the movie that came out 2 years ago, I think, yeah, in 2024. The movie was amazing. And so when I saw these on sale, I was like, I'm going to pick them up. And they've just been shouting at me from my bookshelf. Sometimes I pick up a book and it sits on my bookshelf for like 6 months before I finally read it. But ever since grabbing these, me knowing how easy of a read they're going to be, they've just been like, read me. So I'm going to get to all of those. That's the, here it is, the Wild Robot, and then the Wild Robot Escapes. Oops, there it is, and then the Wild Robot Protects right there. So I'm going to read all three of these. That should be a nice short journey. And then I'm going to read a book that I've been meaning to get to for a while and finally getting around to it, and it's Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This is a book that's been recommended a couple times on this channel from some comments that have been on my previous videos, especially when I asked about underwater horror or like ocean horror. This was like the number one book that was recommended, and I've seen this one recommended a lot on like r/horror lit on Reddit and stuff like that. So I'm super excited to get into it. Quite a beefy little book, not terribly long. Like 425 pages, but pretty small print in there too. So this will be a nice journey. And then my Stephen King book of the month. I'm trying to read one Stephen King book every month for the year. My next one in publication order is this one here, Firestarter. This is like I have the original cover. I think this is. This is one of my grandma's old Stephen King books. So you can see it's kind of beat up. It's got a lot of rips and tears on it. It's been well loved, but this one's been sitting on my shelf for a very long time, and I don't know what it's about. I've never seen the Firestarter movie. I know there's a movie about it, but I have no clue. So I'm excited to get into this one. Coming off of the Dead Zone, which I thought was incredible. I'm at a really high Stephen. I mean, I'm always at a really high Stephen King mood, but especially coming off of the Dead Zone, I'm super excited to get into this one. I don't. I don't know if it's one of his more highly rated ones. I've kind of seen it more towards the middle, but honestly, I had that thought going into the Dead Zone, and I it proved me wrong. It is one of my favorite King books, so I'm not going to have any thoughts going into this one. I'm just going to take it as it comes, and so we'll see what it's about and if I enjoy it. So that is Firestarter, and then my nostalgia pick of the month is going to be the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. I read this back in high school. I remember loving it. I read Angels and Demons in January of this year, last month, and I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. And if my memory serves me properly, I think I enjoyed the Da Vinci Code more than Angels and Demons when I read it all those years ago. So I'm really stoked to get into this one right here. So that is going to be my nostalgia read of the month. And then I forgot one more. There's another book I'm going to read on Kindle, actually. It is the book club that I'm in with my friends and my fiance. My friend for this month chose a book called The Emerald Queen Rises by Megan Sally Massey. I think I don't know if it's Megan or Meg Wynn, but yeah, I don't know anything about this book. It doesn't really seem like my genre, but that's part of the book club is to get outside your comfort zone and explore new genres. So we'll see what this book is about, but that's the book that my friends chose for this month. So quite a few books that I want to read, but none of them are super duper long outside of Ink Death. So hopefully I can get to all those. Now let's talk about. I went on a little shopping spree at Books a Million yesterday and picked up some books. So let's talk about those. The first book that I picked up, I said when I went there, I wanted to get a Dean Koontz book. I had my eyes open for either Watchers or Intensity, because those are what I've heard are the best via online and some comments on my previous videos. And I found Watchers here in mass market paperback. So I picked this up. I think this was the one that I really wanted to read more because most of the comments talked about how Watchers was really good. So I'm excited to get into this one. I'll probably put this one in my March TBR because I don't think I'm gonna have time to read it in February with all these other books. But I want to get to this one as soon as possible. And then I picked up the Dune House trilogy right here. We've got which one's the first one? I think yeah, this one. So we got House Atreides right here, and then we've got House Harkonnen right here, and then we've got book 3, which is House Reno. So I'm excited to get into these. I've heard good things about the House trilogy, and coming off of the Schools of Dune trilogy, I'm excited for this because I enjoyed the Schools trilogy quite a bit. So I'm excited to see what these books have in store. And as far as I understand, they're much closer to the actual like Frank Herbert Dune timeline. The last two trilogies have been way, way in the past, so I'm excited to be a little closer to that main Dune trilogy and see what kind of stories they have to tell. So I picked up all 3 of those books. And then lastly, I grabbed a couple Stephen King books, one that I'm probably not going to read for a while, and that is Holly. But it was in the discount section for like $6, so I wanted to grab that because I didn't own it yet. But since I'm reading him in publication order, this is one of his more recent books, so probably won't see this one for quite a while. But then I also saw Roadwork by him when he was writing as Richard Bachman, and this one is coming up pretty soon. I think I have to read Firestarter, and then The Mist, and then Dance Macabre, and then I think Roadwork is next. So I saw this in there in mass market paperback. Saw it was pretty cheap and was like, I'll just pick it up now because this one's coming up soon. I'm gonna have to buy it soon anyway. So yeah, so I'm excited to get into that one. And those are the books that I picked up at Books a Million yesterday. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and I will get back to you guys with like a mid-month update towards the middle of February. And then at the end of the month, I will hopefully rank all of these. Hopefully I'll finish all of them and I'll rank them from least favorite to favorite as I do. But my name is Christian once again. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.